So on Friday, the U.S. House Committee on Financial Services released their almost 140-page document entitled GameStopped, How the Meme Stock Market Event Exposed Troubling Business Practices, Inadequate Risk Management, and the Need for Legislative and Regulatory Reform. This is from the 117th Congress, second session. Now, of course, as soon as Congress obtained this information about some of these practices that have been going on Wall Street for a long time, they were incensed and vowed that they were going to take this fight to the streets. Watch.
Illegitimate! 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 Into the streets! You ain't seen nothing yet. Women are going to control their bodies no matter how they try and stop us. The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them. Women will be in control of their bodies.
Now, of course, I can't speak for everyone on this channel, but I know for me personally, seeing Congress take this kind of an interest in their constituents and what's going on with the retail trader is really encouraging, knowing that this needs to be some reform and some legislation because of all these shady business practices that have been going on for a long time. We're going to finish up our conversation that we started last week about GameStop. We'll talk about the dividend stock split and what it could mean for the MOASS. And if we have time, I want to talk about the CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek, getting a new contract extension for 3 years, even though all the controversy that is swirling around him right now, especially with Lightyear and what happened down in Florida and how the market reacted to it. It went up with news that he might be leaving, and as soon as the contract was signed, it immediately fell. So we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. But before we get way too far ahead of ourselves,
cue the speeder.
This is the way.
Hello, everybody!
good evening, beautiful people. Guys, what's going on? It is Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, and it's been a couple days since we spoke. The last upload was on Friday night. When I left you, we were talking about GameStop and the possible trigger for a MOASS. Since then, the market's kind of been up and down. AMC, GME both finished down today in the red. The market wasn't that great overall. Nothing exciting going on. So I want to kind of move right into finishing up this conversation with GameStop and talking about the House Committee on Finance. This article was from just a few weeks back. It was talking about the proposals from the shareholders meeting of 2022 that we just had. And it talks about the most exciting news being the stock split via a dividend, whereby GameStop common stocks total number of shares will be increased to 1 billion. The article goes on, during the meeting, GameStop CEO Matt Furlong answered questions from shareholders regarding the company's business and new initiatives, including crypto, NFT, and Web 3.0 spaces. And there's a direct quote here from Furlong saying, "Please trust that we will continue to fight for you and your interests as stockholders. We know that many of you are individual stockholders rather than institutional investors. We never take your enthusiasm or your investment for granted. I speak for the full board when I say that we are proud to be aligned with you." In the last paragraph, it says, though several large and important proposals were unsurprisingly approved, upcoming events, however, including the company's stock split, may make much greater waves in the market. And I have to echo this sentiment here. I do believe that this is going to be an important event that is coming up, hopefully in our very near future. There's another interesting article here from April 5th of 2022 from The Street, which really explains in depth what the stock dividend is for GameStop. It says there's an interesting detail in GameStop's stock splits proposal. The company has opted for a stock split in share dividend format, which implies a slightly different mechanism than a regular split. GameStop will give each shareholder one more share as a dividend. So besides the stock split, this extra dividend share for each shareholder will theoretically still double the float. But what difference does this make for the stock? It turns out that short sellers who are betting against the stock will need to buy an additional share to distribute to the holders of shares that they have sold short. And I think there's a good possibility that the CEO and the board are really right now ramping up a lot of the technology behind the NFT marketplace and their plans to go forward with that and really make it accessible to a lot of gamers. And I'm putting a lot of faith in the CEO and Ryan Cohen And I do believe that he has retail's back. I think the board and the CEO are on the level with retail. And after spending all this time looking this deeply into Ryan Cohen and what their plans are for the future, I think the most bullish news of all is the fact that back at the end of March, he picked up 100,000 more shares of GameStop. All we've seen Adam Aaron do is a lot of selling, and I hate to say that as a majority AMC shareholder, but it is what it is. So whether you decide at some point in the future to pick up some GME, or if you already own it right now, from everything that I've looked into and read about Ryan Cohen, he seems to be the man for this job. And also, I think the CEO is on top of his game, and I don't see any reason why GME can't be the catalyst that we need in order to pop this squeeze. All right, this next subject needs, honestly, its own video, but really quickly, I want to touch on the House Committee on Financial Services and their GameStop report. It says recommendations are on page 11, so we're going to scoot to that real quick. And on page 11 of the report, talks about some things that we need to take into consideration going forward, especially the influx of retail traders, the gamification with Robinhood, and it also talked about strengthening capital and liquidity requirements and oversight. And it talks about the capitalization requirements for clearing brokers the SEC needs to get on top of, having a rule for FINRA, talks about the DTCC and the NSCC should revisit how it conducts surveillance of member firms that pose a greater risk. There are a ton of recommendations in here. The problem is there is no legislation. Although it does say here under the enhancing supervision of retail facing super brokers, in parentheses, it said Congress should adopt legislation that directs FINRA to conduct more thorough supervision of the broker-dealer industry, and the SEC should conduct more thorough oversight of FINRA's activities and any corrective actions FINRA may propose. There are a ton of recommendations in here talking about retail and some legislation that needs to be passed in order to get things on the up and up for retail. And in the future, we're going to talk about this document a lot more in depth and try to narrow down and figure out what type of legislation do we really need, because retail should have an input on what is going to happen in the future with the stock market. We are a huge part of it now, with the brokerage apps being in the palm of our hands and having capital to infuse into the market from time to time. I think we are going to be a force going forward, and we should be considered in these things. And unfortunately, guys, it's going to come down to us playing politics and with the politicians in order to get anything done, because legislation is the only way. All right, since we have a couple extra minutes, I want to talk about the CEO, Bob Chapek of Disney. Now, there were rumors earlier in the day that they were planning on actually replacing Bob Chapek. And then news broke, unfortunately, to the chagrin of most shareholders, and that was reflected in the stock price tanking as soon as the news came out. Disney was dealt a tough hand by the pandemic, yet with Bob at the helm, our businesses from parks to streaming not only weathered the storm but emerged in a position of strength, said Susan Arnold, chairman of the board. It's an important time of growth and transformation. The board is committed to keeping Disney on the path it is on today, and Bob's leadership is key to achieving that goal. Bob is the right leader at the right time for the Walt Disney Company, and the board has full confidence in him and his leadership team. Shares of Disney were up slightly in after-hours trading after closing Tuesday down 0.71% at 9592. Now, of course, the rumors were going around that he was going to be replaced because of all the turmoil that's going on in Florida right now, and especially because the negative feedback that the same-sex kiss has gotten in the Toy Story spinoff of Lightyear, and it's absolute tanking at the box office. And why am I concerned about this? Being an AMC shareholder, we are relying on theater revenue, and I don't feel Disney is doing its fiduciary responsibility to rake in as much money as you can for your shareholders. And thankfully, I don't own Disney stock, and I wouldn't recommend it. As a matter of fact, it might be the only time in my life I would ever short a stock, just for their principles and their moral high ground that they take while being complete hypocrites. There's a new article that just came out about the newest Disney film from Pixar that's called Strange World. It's going to be the first openly teen romance in company's history. But obviously there's a word in between. I don't even want to say it because I'll get demonetized. Ha! Gay! And look, I am all for equal rights, and whatever you do in your bedroom is cool with me. when it comes to kids and kids movies and Disney and the box office and the bottom line, I got a problem with all this. We really need to get AMC profitable, and every penny that we are losing with all of these cancellations and these countries that are out there and they are not allowing Disney to run the films is money that we're losing towards getting profitable again. There's no reason why this movie shouldn't have brought in, by the time it's all said and done, $1 billion. And we might see a fifth of that if we're lucky. So it's a problem I got with Hollywood. I'll take it up with them. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to try to get to all the comments I need to get to by tomorrow morning. If you made this far in the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button for me, just to help out with the algorithm. As always, guys, thank you for the likes, the views, the comments, my new subscribers, my OGs. I appreciate each and every one of you. We're here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.